Hello and welcome to On the Mic, a Zoomcast that spotlights students, services, and staff of Highlands Community Charter and Technical Schools. Highlands offers adults 22 years of age and older the opportunity to earn their high school diploma, learn English as a second language, and learn a skill. My name is Mike Roessler, and today we are joined by none other than Angelica Castaneda. Angelica, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm really good. It's so good to see you today, and thank you for spending a few minutes with me on the mic. Now, you've been associated with Highlands for a very long time. Tell us when you first started your relationship with Highlands.
So I started back in 2014 as a student here at Highlands. I want to say it was the beginning of Highlands when Highlands just started. And I came here to become a student, and my journey started there. And I've been with Highlands for almost 8 years as an employee.
So I remember when you first started with Highlands back in August of 2014, because I was one of your teachers. And I have great memories of you walking into class with your daughter. And how old was your daughter back in 2014?
I think she was 5. She had just turned 5 in June. So it was kind of, because I used to go to a different school back in the days, which was not a school, it was just a center. And she was 5. I remember I was bringing her to school, like, okay, mommy's gonna go to school. Okay, let's get ready. So I would get her ready. And then after that, I think she's joined school as well. And then I would just drop her off and then come to class.
And I remember that very well, because she came to class every once in a while, and she was cute as a button then. And tell us about your daughter now. How old is she? What's she doing?
So she is currently 14. Oh, 14. It's scary, but she'll be 15 next year. Right now, she's high school. She started high school this year, her first year as a freshman, and she's actually doing cheer. She just asked me yesterday if she can do the comp cheer. It was like, if you have time in your schedule for it, then we can do it. But she's been doing cheer for quite some time now, and she's actually enjoying it. And she's gonna start doing comp soon as well.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing for me because I haven't seen her in a while. And when you showed me pictures recently, I couldn't believe how much. I mean, listen, they grow up. We know that, but she's so mature now, and it's amazing because the picture I had in my mind as her as a 5-year-old, and now she's 14 and a young person, young teenager, right, growing up, and probably keeping you busy too.
Yeah, she is. She's actually a really handful because her schedule's really crazy. She cheers. She does practice Monday through Friday. Saturday is the only day she has to rest, and then Sunday she has church school.
Man, listen, I want to talk to you about firsts. So you came to Highlands when we first opened, and you were the very first student that received their state certification in manicuring. Tell us about that.
So, as a little girl, I think I always wanted to be like the nail technician, and I thought I was like, oh yeah, I'm a good nail technician. But I was like, one day I'll take my license, and then Highlands had given me the opportunity to do that. And so, I'd enjoy my time during that time at Cosmo, doing my license, my hours, and there were some stressful days, but there were some, wonderful days where you were able to help like other people have their nails nice and beautiful. And then I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. And then like as I moved on with the hours and stuff, and I was just like, there's a point, like the chemicals that are using, I'm like, I'm not digging the chemicals. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna finish this because if I start something, I want to finish it. I'm not just gonna let it be. So yeah, I finished it and I passed my exam the first time. I was really nervous, and it was like, because you would just go, you can't ask any questions there. You just have to go, and they're like, what's your name? ID. You give them your name, ID. You're like, oh, it's even more stressful because you can't even ask any questions. Like, where do I go? They're like, just follow the line. They would just go like this with the finger, just follow the line, and you're just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now? But yeah, I took the test and I passed it, and yeah. So
Very, you're right. Very official, and no nonsense. And once again, congratulations on that. I know I've asked you a few times in the past whether you have done anything with that skill that you obtained through Highlands, and I know you kind of left that in the past.
So, in the beginning, once I got my license, I was working towards it. And then I was like, it's not for me. It's not passionate. It's not something that I like to do. So I left that in my past.
And so tell everyone how you got to be employed by Highlands. How did you find out about the job with Highlands?
Yeah. So when I was a student, the only thing I was needing, it was the exit exam to pass. And I had to take, classes. You were one of my teachers. I think you and Derek were my teachers back in the day. Derek was the high school teacher. And so I was, studying for the test. And then I had to take one more class. And Sherry's like, the counselor back then, she said, hey, do you want to volunteer in the office? We're looking for a volunteer. And I said, sure, that's fine. She's like, it's only going to be a couple of hours a day and you're just going to help me. I remember there was one desk right in the corner of this little corner by the office. And then she said, you can just sit there and then help me with this, call students, make appointments for me. And I said, fine. And then help them when they come in, register and help them. And I said, yeah, that's fine. It sounds something easy, as I was going and going, and she was just like, do you want a couple more hours? Because I had to finish your class around that time. And she's like, hey, do you want to extend your hours so you can have the 6 hours minimum? And I said, yeah, that's fine. I don't pick up my daughter till like after hours. So yeah, that's fine. I have nothing else to do. And so I keep volunteering here. And then one day, Natasha and Sherry were like, hey, how do you like to, work here? And I guess they brought it to you and to Doc at that time. And then Doc and you, I think, brought me into the next door office and they said, hey, how would you like to work here? And I was like, you know, I was like, well, I love that. I was at that time, I was without a job. I was trying to go to school because I wanted to look for something, because I don't know if you remember, but I was interested into doing the ECE program to have my own daycare. And that was something that I was always trying to do because I wanted to spend time with my daughter. And I said, oh, if I can do this, I can spend time with my daughter. And then I started working here and I kind of like what I was doing here. And then I was like, that doesn't look like something that I will enjoy in my future. I said, maybe, speaking, because I like to talk to people. And, every time I come, like somebody comes, I like, they're feeling bad. I make a joke out of it. I was like, oh, don't feel bad. This happened to me. And so like, I'm trying to cheer them up. And I was like, I can do that here. So I started working here and like people were just so friendly and I was friendly to them as well. And I was just like, oh, I kind of like it. And then that's when you guys, asked me if I was, open to a job opportunity here. And I said, yeah, of course, I will love that.
Do you remember, Angelica, do you remember the job title that you started at Highlands with?
I think was office assistant.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Mhm.
office assistant. And now what's your title?
It's student onboarding and records lead.
So listen, and I've seen you in the 8 years that you've been with Highlands and made great strides and great progress. And you've also been in a department that has grown basically from yourself and a few others to how many people do you have in your department now?
I think we're about 20 and then there's two more onboarding. So like 22.
Yeah, I mean it's and listen, your department where all students go to register is very important. And so, tell us about your experience over the last 8 years at Highlands.
Well, so far, like that, since I started to hear, it's tremendously changed. It went from like it turned a 360 around. So it started as just a office assistant here, and like it slowly started building up, and so now we have a structure and within the department, which is a little bit more organized, and it's different. Like I guess I want to say it's like we're a family here. Like we'll take care of everybody here as like, okay, you're new student, okay, we got you, and we would just continue like overall what the department has been. tremendously changes. And, it's always like changes for the good. So, yeah, I mean, as overall as the school, it changed as well in every different department. Every department grew as individual departments. Before it was just like a couple people when I started here. I want to say there was like around 25 to 30 employees, and now there's over like 300.
No, we have almost 600
Oh,
employees.
600, look.
I mean, that's huge, right? Hey, Angelica, tell us why you dropped out of high school that then made the decision to attend Highlands to earn your high school diploma that much more important.
So, I went all the way to my last year of senior, and I was missing that one exit exam. I took the math back in my year, back in 2006. I was supposed to graduate, but before that in 2005, they said, "Oh, we're gonna have everybody take the exit exam and stuff like that, but we're not sure if it's gonna, qualify for you guys to exit. It's not gonna be a requirement." So me always trying to leave class early back in the days, and I decided to not take that test. I, hurt myself. I only took the math part, but I was like, "Oh, I don't need the English part. I don't need it. It's not even gonna count as a high school requirement." So I had all my credits, everything was good. And then I didn't take the test. And then the next time it came around, I was sick. So I was like, oh, maybe they said, oh, now it's a requirement to take it. And then the next time around, I was sick and I couldn't make it. So that was the one thing I was missing to graduate. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, it's a requirement. I have to look. They're like, you can go to continuation schools after. And I was like, I lived in Long Beach and I moved over here to Sacramento. And I was just like, I'm not able to find anything after since 2006 when I left Long Beach to Sacramento. Then I found you guys, and that's where I took my test. So I took the test, and they said, "Oh, you passed it." And then I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "Oh, it's not a requirement anymore." So
Right. Many students were very pleased that the exit exams were no longer a requirement because many high school students that came back to Highlands were having a hard time with the math at exit exam. And
yeah,
so all of you were very thrilled that it wasn't a state requirement any longer.
yeah.
Hey, so what do you want to do? Because you're still a young person. What do you want to do, within the next 5 years?
Honestly, I am considering going back to school. I'm the oldest one in the department, I want to say. And I hear younger kids, younger generation, they're like, "Oh, I'm still going to school and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Who I need a buddy to study." And I was like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." So I kind of want to go back to school for something. Don't know yet what, but I still want to go back to school to do something.
Now, here's some information that many people may not know, but you have always been a car enthusiast, right? I remember you would change cars frequently and you would have a whole slew of cars at home. How many cars do you currently have at home now?
I think I have 4 or 5.
Well, what are they?
I think it's a 94 Chevy Silverado. It's a 2001 Chevy Silverado. It's a 2006 Tahoe, and then my 2001 Jeep, and then we have I think it's a 2008 or 2009 Honda CRV.
I have to check you on the Jeep. Is it a two? What year is that?
2001, I believe. I mean, to that 2021.
Thank you.
Okay.
2021 Jeep, very beautiful car. Very beautiful. Why have you always had that interest in vehicles?
Honestly, it's something that when I grew up, we didn't have any transportation. We always had public transportation. So when we grew older, me and my husband were like, we're walking everywhere. And I said, why can't we just have, cars here and there for anything? We started having multiple vehicles because one time I got stranded outside, out of the Sacramento area. And I said, this car doesn't work. Why don't you have a second spare for me? And he said, you know what? It's okay, honey. You'll have another car. So if this one doesn't work, we'll have multiple cars. So that's when he started getting cars. But now he fixes them and makes sure they run good before I take them out.
That's probably it. First of all, that's a great idea, and secondly, it's really handy to have somebody that knows about cars, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very handy. You know, within the years, I think I know how to change the oil in multiple cars, or I can tell you what the issue is. My stepdad is a mechanic, and I'm always like seeing what he does, or my husband, and I'm like, oh, what is that? What is this called? I'm always curious to see what it is, you know?
That is so good. Well, listen, Angelica, it was so great to catch up with you. Thank you again for being on the mic. It's always great to see you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Likewise. Have a good day.
Bye now.
Bye.